UConn for a special class that has won national championship and seeking a second. Their final home game next. Welcome to the Big East Basketball Game of the Week, presented by New York Life. Today from the XL Center in Hartford, #1 and undefeated UConn taking on 11th-ranked Georgetown. The Hoyas in the midst of one of the best seasons in school history. This is the way the Big East is shaping up. 2 more games left on the regular season schedule. The top 4 teams get a double bye. The next 4 teams will get a single bye heading into the Big East tournament, which will be right back here in early March at the XL Center. I'm Beth Mullins along with Brooke Weisbrod. And Brooke, a big day for the senior class led by Tina Charles here at Connecticut, who is about to go out as the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in school history.
And I think the biggest challenge posed to Tina Charles today will be to keep those emotions in check. I expect nothing but business as usual for the UConn Huskies, but it is an emotional day to come out on senior day.
She is just 20 rebounds away from #1, 46 points away from #1, has been stellar throughout her career.
I don't expect there to be too much challenge on the inside from Georgetown today. So Tina Charles, who is definitely capable of putting up a 20-20 game. We've seen one this season from her already. I would expect to see the potential for another one. Then Sugar Rogers, the freshman from Georgetown, who's put up some big numbers. Take a look, 2nd in the Big East in scoring this season. Georgetown continues to roll over their opponents. Can they handle the emotions of playing in a big game from today?
Picked #8 in the preseason, and the Hoyas are fighting for 2nd place in the Big East. Georgetown, the highest the Hoyas have ever climbed in the national polls. And let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Hoyas with Fuller, Rogers, McNutt, Butler, and McGee. Monica McNutt, the junior from Sweetland, Maryland, 2nd in the conference in steals. And this is a Georgetown team that relies heavily on the ability to take the ball away from its opponents. Fernandez, Green, Gardler, McLaren, and Charles. It's the seniors in the starting lineup today, including Jackie Fernandez in her 107th career game, making her very first start today. The head coach for the Hoyas, Terry Williams-Flanoy, in her 6th season. And over the course of the last 5 years, their record has gotten better every time. 20 wins a year ago, up to 24 this season. And it's been a remarkable turnaround this year, led by the freshman Sugar Rogers, really helping the Hoyas get things done. They'll be in their road blues today, and Charles wins the tip for Connecticut. And Jackie Fernandez will run the point. Huskies come in with that sparkling 28-0 record. They have trailed in conference play for a grand total of 4 minutes and 35 seconds this year in their first 14 games. And they grab the early lead again, Kalena Green.
And Georgetown starting off in the 2-3 zone to try and do what they can to slow the Huskies down. Huskies responding themselves to the 2-3 zone. I'm a little surprised.
We were working a lot on this yesterday in practice. The kick out to McNutt. And the 3, and the Hoyas grab the early lead.
Can't stress enough the importance for Georgetown to come out here and try to make a good statement early in this game. Now they're shifting to a 1-2-2 press, just again to try and slow down the momentum of the Huskies, who of course are known for coming out right away and throwing up points on the board.
If there is a question mark around Connecticut, is how do they deal with the pressure situations? Of course, they had the All-American Renee Montgomery a year ago. And this season, it's been kind of point guard by committee, with Caroline Doty and Tiffany Hayes handling a lot more responsibilities, although those two are natural shooters for Gino Auriemma, now in his 25th season with the 6 national championships and the heavy favorites to make it #7 this year. The This is Sugar Rogers. Gardler on her defensively. And the three ball is good from the corner. Monica McNutt, 35% on the season, drills another one.
And keep your eye on Monica McNutt because Georgetown, of course, led by Sugar Rogers, but there have been some very key players to their success in their 11th ranked season. And Monica McNutt has been one of those players who is, in my opinion, has gone very underrated throughout the season.
Gardler missed the layup. UConn right now staring at its largest deficit in Big East play this season. The most they've been down is 2 points. And St. John's had a lead on them for about 2.5 minutes. The wraparound underneath is good from Kalena Green. On the run, McGee. And the swat from Charles, the #3 shot blocker in UConn history.
And Tina is such an athletic player, but where she has developed so much throughout the years is not leaving her feet and understanding that she can block shots from a set position because she's got so much length and athleticism, and she's timed it very well. And now the ball isn't even going out of bounds. They're heading down the other way for a score.
And that's a player you cannot lose in transition. Sugar Rogers, who has attempted over 200 three-pointers this season, knocks one in.
The three ball and the transition points for Georgetown have been very good to them, and Sugar Rogers is not afraid to pull the trigger. She's had a few games with some legit points, talking about 24 against Notre Dame, 27 against Rutgers defense, who's always so tough. Sugar Rogers can score, and Connecticut needs to be very focused on where she is.
Kalena Green launches the three. She has added that skill to her game this year. And the fifth-year senior from St. Stephen, South Carolina is on the board.
You said it exactly right, Beth. But Kalena Green, always known for being a slasher, a mid-range jump shooter, someone who can get to the rim. Now that she can shoot from the outside, how much more deadly that has made the UConn Huskies.
Connecticut forces the turnover. Kalena scoring this year the way she did in that outstanding sophomore season that she had before the knee injury. Moore now checking into the lineup for Connecticut. You see Kalena. She's a member of the 1,000 Point Club, had the ACL injury back in 2008. And she's got all 7 of their points here. Reach-in foul called on Georgetown. The Hoyas coming in second in the nation in steals. They've got 3 players with over 50 on the year.
And although that was a foul, that's exactly how they've gotten those steals. Every player on the floor is in tune where the ball is, and their hands are very active. So it's not always necessarily a steal from the same person who deflects it. They just like to have active hands and communicating. That's what's been effective for them.
Moore with her first look. Rebounded by Gardler. And then Moore threw it away. 3 early turnovers for the Huskies. Butler with the left hand, and a Georgetown team with a handful of players new to this environment. They're not freaking out at all under these circumstances.
They sure aren't. They've responded very well, and you have to know that with Maya Moore back in the game, that run may be just around the corner, so as important as ever for Georgetown to still play aggressive. I like the way they've tried to come in and attack the Huskies. Monica McNutt hit a couple of big shots, and Jaleesa Butler was able to hold off Maya Moore, who definitely wanted to get a hand on that block.
Charles with the big swat. That's her second of the day. And Kalena Green stepping outside for 3. Over Connecticut, 11-9. And Maya Moore went off in their last outing up at the Carrier Dome.
Sure did. 38 points, 20 rebounds. In the last 2 games against Syracuse, she has had 78 points. Talk about domination, and Maya Moore has now gotten to the level of fame throughout the country where Bryant Gumbel is talking about her, PTI is talking about her. She's a regular on SportsCenter now. So what she's been able to do within this team, of course, alongside Tina Charles, Kalena Green, some of the larger players and the historic players from Connecticut. Take a look at this. I mean, not too many names on this list, and some of the best here in the country to ever play the game.
And you've actually got to go all the way down to Rebecca Lobo to find the last 30-point and 20-rebound performance. That came back in 1994. So Maya Moore continues to put up the impressive numbers. As good as Tina Charles is, she'll be #1 in points and rebounds. Maya Moore is going to pass her in the scoring column next year, and shortly, by the end of the Big East tournament, they will both have over 2,000 career points, which is a rarity.
What is so cool about these two players is that they have the mindset of anything you can do, I can do better, but it is such a healthy competition, and they're each other's biggest fans, and that's how this team operates. And it's really amazing how Gino Ariema has been able to capture the success of this team, but they're all team players.
Yeah. Well, now his biggest concern, the turnovers against the pressure. As Georgetown gets the takeaway, and they'll get another look for Sugar Rogers from beyond the arc. No. And a held ball will go to the Hoyas, who right now are winning all the hustle plays. Actually, it's going to go to Connecticut, excuse me. This was the other thing they spent a ton of time on in their preparations. Charles lost the grip. 5 turnovers here in the first 5 minutes for Connecticut, as Caroline Doty checks into the lineup. So now the starting 5 is out there for UConn.
And perhaps the funk from the emotions of senior day will wear off in this first 5 minutes. And you had to expect the first 5 minutes to be a little erratic from Connecticut, because they're not playing with their same starting lineup, trying to get through the emotions. Okay, those 5 minutes are up. Now, Georgetown has come out and played excellent in this first 5 minutes of the game, but you're waiting for Connecticut to get their act together and to start putting points on the board.
Moore rattled that one in and out as the Huskies face their largest deficit in Big East play this year, and the longest they have trailed against a Big East opponent, as Georgetown has jumped out early. 3 for 3 from beyond the arc. Rogers gets away from Green, tries the scoop shot. Georgetown down on the deck to get it. With the take. Charles clears. Tiffany Hayes walked with it.
Great defense there by Sugar Rogers to come help side, and tripped up Hayes to expecting to take the charge, tried to go around her and just took one too many steps. And another turnover again caused by the defense of Georgetown.
And a UConn team that only averages 14 is already halfway there. Butler to pull up in the paint. So Georgetown forces the turnover and scores off it.
And I like they're not taking any time to come down. As soon as they find an open shot, they're taking it.
Green, blocked by Butler. Tremendous opening salvo from Georgetown on the defensive end.
You watch Butler coming down the lane, understanding the range that Tina Charles has, and her capability is capable of blocking a shot pretty much from anywhere. So as soon as she's got an open shot, she took it.
Doty looking for 3, off the mark. Charles with another rebound, count it, and Tina Charles will head to the line. She's already got 4 boards here in the first half. Foul will go against Monica McNutt, her first.
And Tina coming off just a 3-point game against Syracuse the other night. This won't be the last game that Connecticut plays in this arena, of course, the Big East tournament next weekend, but you know Tina Charles doesn't want to go out on senior day with some single-digit points.
They'll have the 1 game remaining, that road trip on Monday night against Notre Dame in a packed Joyce Center. Rogers has the shot blocked. That's the 3rd already of the ball game for UConn.
And Connecticut understanding how good Georgetown is off the bounce and attacking the basket, making them shoot from the outside. You'd have to figure Georgetown, just a 32% team, 3-point shooting team. Going to cool down here.
Hayes hard off the iron, now right in transition. Off the cross. McNutt delivers it inside McGee. Rogers got lost on the weak side for 3, no. Moore with the rebound. Very active active hands all over the court for Georgetown. Alexa Roach, the 6-foot sophomore from Baltimore, checks in, as does Adria Crawford, 6-footer out of Alexandria, Virginia, now on.
And for the most part, Georgetown goes through about a 7-person rotation, and Connecticut, I think the average starting 5 play about 25, 26 minutes. And both teams like to play that up-tempo style game. Surprising to still see both teams in a 2-3 zone, but I think they're trying to really shake each other out of their normal setting type game.
Charles steps around the defender and scores. Tina Charles now with 5. Rogers inside the line for 2 for Sugar Rogers, the freshman out of Suffolk, Virginia, and one of the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year honors in the Big East. Charles, good transition that time for Connecticut.
Great ball movement, used both sides of the floor to break through the press. A quick score in response from Connecticut. In that last setting, I thought Sugar Rogers made a great heads-up play, went down in to the paint as we see Ruby Wright knock down another 3. Understood Tina Charles was right there, kicked it back out, but then repositioned herself for that jump shot.
Tina Charles with that last bucket, passing Kara Walters on the all-time scoring list. She's now in 4th.
Georgetown foul.
20-16. Georgetown with the lead, but Tina Charles active early on for the top-ranked Huskies for Connecticut.
And as tall as she is, which is 6'4", then you add her length. Most players simply cannot do what Tina Charles can do. She is so athletic and versatile. I mean, watch how aware she is of her body and how to use it. She's literally on the floor everywhere at once, blocking shots, hitting second, third chance rebound shots, keeping those players off of where her shot might get blocked. And as we take a look at the all-time leading scorers, and Tina Charles on pace, of course, to become the all-time leading scorer and rebounder at the University of Connecticut. This is truly amazing.
She just passed Kara Walters with that last basket and now is just 14 points away from Diana Taurasi at the number 3 spot. And there's Kara, a former National Player of the Year, who now handles the radio broadcasts here at Connecticut. You talk about post players. Boy, they have had some awfully good ones here with the Carrie Bascom's and Rebecca Lobos and Carrie Walters, and now Tina Charles, the latest in line and perhaps the greatest of the bunch. And when you talk about the improvements that she has made, a lot of tough love from that coaching staff over the last 4 years for Tina Charles, and it has just paid huge dividends.
Well, they must have come to a point where they just really understand each other, because how often over the last 4 years have we talked about during broadcast, or heard talked about during broadcast, the relationship between Gino Auriemma and Tina Charles, and how much he has challenged her to become a better player. And you've got to give her a lot of credit to take that kind of criticism and to really blossom into what she's become today, which is one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant center in the country, and has got to be one of the top candidates for a pick in the WNBA.
Number 1 pick probably to the Connecticut Sun. And of course, those two might be back together in a couple of summers with the U.S. Olympic team, which Coach Auriemma is coaching. Nancy and McGee short on that 3. And now on the run, Maya Moore looking for Caroline Doty, at it, stuffed. Outstanding recovery from Georgetown and Alexa Roach.
Wow, what a play here for Roach to follow up and understand where the ball is coming off. Great pass, good help side defense, but that is perfect timing from Roach, and to keep her body away from fouling at the same time. Great defensive play.
Doty, now Maya Moore, looking for her first points of the ball game. Lauren Dixon on the drive, scoops it up and in. Ties it at 20 now with 10:35 to go in the first half.
UConn now in a man-to-man defense as you see McGee take that jumper from a free throw line. She's a shooter too, who needs to be aware and grab the ball, shoot it when she can. And that so far, I've been really impressed. Georgetown is not coming in here scared. They've done a great job.
And they forced the 7th turnover of the half, and Roach walked with it.
Travel.
The Huskies continue to struggle against the pressure. Over the top to Moore for the bucket. UConn effectively attacking the rim on that possession. 5 different players have scored for Georgetown. They're shooting close to 50% so far in the ball game. The left-hander from Roach, no. Doty in transition for 3. And some emotion from Caroline Doty, who has struggled to find the 3 ball at times this year. They would love to boost her confidence heading into the postseason.
A good timeout call here by Georgetown, because the last 2 possessions we've seen great ball movement up the floor by Connecticut. The last play before this one, 3 by Caroline Doty, was a cross-court pass to Maya Moore, who caught it mid-alley-oop to finish.
Well, the Big East Conference has its website at bigeast.org, where you can log on for all the latest information on all Big East sports, including women's basketball scores, highlights, news, stats, and polls. And get ready for a big finish to the regular season. Connecticut has already clinched at least a share of the title. They win it outright with a win here today, but still the battle is on for 2nd place. And also for that 4th spot, which gets the double bye, which St. John's can still pass Notre Dame to get.
You think about how big of an injury that was to Lindsay Schrader, who missed those 2 games. And in that 1 week, Notre Dame loses twice and may have knocked themselves out of position for that double bye, and may need to get it only with a win against Connecticut on March 1st.
Oh, nice stick back by the Hoyas. Adria Crawford able to get that one up and in. And Dixon took it into the trap, and it gets taken away. The Hoyas with another pick. Rogers off the bounce. Charles with her 6th rebound, and then a foul on the collision. Tina Charles now 14 boards away from passing Rebecca Lobo to #1 on the all-time list. But right now, the Hoyas have stymied them with this pressure that has forced 8 turnovers. They've got 6 steals already.
Their key to their success this season has been their athleticism. They've got players who, 5 to 7 players who can come in, play basically the 2 to 4 positions. I'd say they really don't have a true point guard other than Ruby Lee Wright, who comes off the bench, or a true center. So they have 2 to 4 players at any given time who can get their hands in the lanes to get steals, get deflections, come down, shoot those jump shots. They've got a lot of good players who can really rattle even a team like Connecticut, who's typically more athletic than any other team out there. Georgetown has come out and shown them how athletic they are.
Foul called on Adria Crawford. That's her first. Tina Charles to the free throw line, a 74% shooter. See, it looked like Tina was not pleased with the play at the end of that foul, and she quickly jumped up. Of course, both of these teams have been involved in a fracas this year. UConn most recently at that Syracuse game. Erica Morrow was kicked out of the game. And Georgetown and Louisville exchanged pleasantries earlier this year in the regular season. Wright tried to leave it off for Butler. Taken away by Doty.
Well, Wright tried to do too much, and she was in a dangerous zone there. Lymore may have gotten a piece of her arm. Hit on the way up for that shot, but Ruby Lee Wright trying to do too much in that setting. They just need to calm down and get back to where it made them successful in the first part of this game.
Gino did not like the decision made by Maya Moore in transition to take that shot, and has quickly pulled her out to remind her of that. Gardler back in. Charles with another board. And then a few words. On an emotional senior day here at Connecticut. Green and Charles have been active. The rest of the team struggling, and Gino is still getting after Maya Moore over there on the sideline.
Although we don't see it that often, there has to be times where Gino does get in the face of Maya Moore to challenge her and make her a better player.
Charles eating rebounds for lunch today. Another stick back for Tina. She's already into double digits in scoring. 13 points and now 9 rebounds for Charles in her final day at home for Connecticut.
The other energy.
Big East history, and we'll take you back to February 27th of 1993, 17 years ago. Georgetown became the last team to beat UConn on senior day, and that was also the last time that an unranked team came in here and beat the Hoyas on this date in Big East history. Tina Charles, 13 points and 9 rebounds. She's got a couple of block shots. She's doing it all in the first half. And Tina now is just 10 boards away from tying Rebecca Lobo. 11 would put her atop the all-time rebounding list.
And this is a player who's had some excellent first halves this season against Carolina, Marquette, and Notre Dame. Tina Charles has averaged 20 points and 8 boards just in the first half. So she is capable of getting it done. And you and I were talking in the break about how we like the attitude from Tina Charles in this first half. She's playing feisty. And you know what? That's how you have to play against Georgetown, because if you come out and let them have the first punch and to start playing more aggressive, that's when they know they've got your number. And that's the reason they've been so successful this season.
The Hoyas playing with a lot of confidence. They had a school record 16-game winning streak earlier this year. Number 11 in the country is the highest rank in school history, their first in 15 years. And they are a shoe-in for the NCAA tournament for just the second time ever, as the Hoyas would love to match that squad that made it all the way to the Sweet 16 that year. And certainly they have the impressive resume to be a pretty good seed as well in the postseason.
Well, Beth, I think they have a great chance to match that record, because there's not a lot of teams out there who are as athletic as this team. And when you look at some of the most successful teams in women's college basketball, what separates them from everybody else? Well, there's UConn and then there's everybody else. But in the everybody else pool, it's athleticism that makes some of these teams so great.
Caroline Doty with her second three-pointer. That matches the number she has made in the last 5 games for UConn. And she's trying to pick up her spirits heading into the postseason. Tiffany Hayes from way out.
Well, Caroline Doty, of course, last year came in as a freshman, had a huge game against Oklahoma. Hit 6 threes, instantly became a fan favorite. And of course, you and I were here when she tore her ACL during the Syracuse game. So you'd have to think it's just a matter of time before Caroline gets dialed back in to that confidence level she was at last year at the beginning part of the season.
Shot clock down to 5 for Georgetown. Crawford off the window for 2.
Crawford certainly just typically a role player, averaging just 6 points, but she is getting 4 boards a game and did have 18 off the bench against Notre Dame. So it's certainly one of those key players who can come in and add some points.
Much better possession for Connecticut as they get the touch for Tina Charles, who is now 6 for 7 in the half. And just picked up her 3rd block.
With a little something to say after.
The pull-up from Green got it. And it's a Husky run. They are up 8, their biggest lead of the day. Now we'll find out a little something about the composure of the Hoyas. McGee will kick out. Just did get it off in time, and now UConn on the run. Tiffany Hayes. Wrong rebound to the Hoyas.
30-second timeout.
Timeout called by Georgetown. Tina Charles bringing the defense today as well. And then a little welcome to the league rookie for Sugar Rogers on the way up the court.
This is my paint.
And there you heard Gino, you could read his lips. Gino said, we need the ball inside first. He doesn't like the quick threes. He wants it inside and then maybe on the kick out, but Tina Charles doesn't need to kick anything out when she's 6 for 7. She's got 15 points and 11 rebounds in the first half. Here's a look at what the Huskies have been able to do this year, and including those 15 wins against teams in the top 50 RPM.
Very impressed. And to have a perfect 19-0 record against teams ranked in the AP Top 25 during this streak, but then to win those games by 26 points, it's amazing. I mean, that's why they're getting talked about, you know, on SportsCenter and PTI every night, because they are truly dominating everybody in this field.
They will be the overall #1 seed in the NCAA tournament, barring an upset the rest of the way. We'd have to think they'd probably be headed to Pittsburgh for the first and second round, and on to Dayton for the regional as Tina Charles. We thought she might have a chance at the rebounding record. She might have a chance at the scoring record tonight. She's got 17 in the first half, and now needs just, well, she came in needing 46. Whose math is better than mine?
Oh, don't look at me.
Maya Moore back into the lineup and fouled on her way to the rim, and even Maya shaking her head. Hoya's not going to give up anything easy.
You'd have to think with the blocks Adria Crawford has had, she can get up there, but Maya Moore, one of the quickest players off her feet to the rim. I'm not going to get a piece of that, Adria. Sorry.
29 points is what I'm told now Tina Charles needs.
Was there a calculator involved in that, maybe?
There was a calculator involved. Maya Moore at the line.
Not going to get that out of me.
Sugar Rogers checks back in for Georgetown. The freshman, 18 points per game, is second best in the league behind Maya Moore. And Rogers so far is just 2 for 10. Got 5 points here in the first half. Something I think that the freshman will get better at over the course of her career is being much more efficient with her game and needing fewer shots to score those 20 points a night.
No question, and you'd think they'd have to rely a lot on her to produce those points, but these other players, they've got about 3 in double figures this season, along with their bench who's averaging about 20 points.
Another triple for the Hoyas. Monica McNutt gets another one. That's the 5th of the half for Georgetown. And they'll back it up with another turnover forced. Huskies up by 9. Tina Charles just 7 points away now from passing Diana Taurasi on the career points list. Presented by New York Life here at a sold-out XL Center on Senior Day for Connecticut, and they are leading Georgetown 40-31. And the winning streak is now at 67 in a row. 3 to tie the NCAA record, 4 to break it, a record which they, of course, hold from the 03 season. The UConn 70-game win streak is the longest for the women. John Wooden's UCLA men in the early 70s is the longest in Division I basketball history at 88. And
we've heard both sides this year about, is that good or is that not good for the development of women's basketball? But, you know, something I asked Gino Ariema that you'll hear at halftime is, you know, what has that done for women's college basketball? And, you know, it gets the average Joe talking about the sport, which is where, you know, we need to be. We need to have more people talking about women's basketball and the success that the Connecticut Huskies have had. You've got guys running through the airport stopping to watch these games because they understand what it takes to have a streak like this. I mean, most people remember the UCLAs of the world, but unfortunately, the first time Connecticut had this streak, it wasn't quite at the level where they're getting as much recognition as they are now, and I think it's great.
Gino Auriemma will join you at halftime. We'll have an interview with the coach. 3.5 minutes to play in the first half. Georgetown, which held the lead for the first 10 minutes, has been effective in forcing some turnovers. They've knocked down 5 3-pointers to hang around. Butler no. Doty with the rebound. And then is called for the walk, and Gino is all over the officials right now. He thinks she got knocked down.
It's been a physical game so far, and I like the fact that they just let them play. Perhaps a called miss, but I'd rather let the play just go, let the ladies play physical.
Wright tried to rifle that pass inside to McGee, too much on it. And now Connecticut will have it back. The story for the Huskies has been Tina Charles here in the first half. 17 points and 11 rebounds. And the inability to figure out the pressure from the Hoyas.
Well, they're rotating well. In that last session where they tried to break the press, Caroline Doty cut middle, but Monica McNutt was there to follow her along. When Maya got the ball, she tried to go middle, but Georgetown did everything they could to stop that. So they're really eliminating that middle area for the press, and that's been successful for them.
What has been successful for Connecticut is getting Tina Charles the basketball. 19 now in the half.
And Jaleesa Butler is an excellent post player and defender, but she's also 6 feet tall. And just do the math. Tina Charles is 6'4", very lengthy and very athletic. There's just not an answer from the Hoyas who can match up with Tina Charles.
McGee, with Charles running out at her, and Tia McGee hits. For a Hoya team that comes in tied for second in the league with West Virginia with a 12-2 record. So they know a win today and some help from Notre Dame on Monday still gives them a chance to share the Big East championship. Butler with the left hand, no. Another opportunity. Good movement by Georgetown.
Wow, how about the hustle?
Great save by Butler. And the bucket for Georgetown.
Tremendous series of play and hustle there from Georgetown. Butler went up between 2 defenders, held one off, then had the sense of mind to keep the ball in bounds. That was a great play.
Everybody getting a touch for the Hoyas.
And here's what we're talking about. Missed shot, but look at the hustle after the play. Butler is everywhere, kicks the ball out. Watch how quickly Georgetown moves the ball around from one side to the other, but it's not one and done for the Hoyas. That's how they've been able to stay in the game. They're all over the rebounds, and they are giving it to the Huskies.
The ball doesn't go, and it will go to the Hoyas. UConn now 3 of 10 in the first half from outside the arc.
Right behind you. Thank you.
Tina Charles has 8 baskets. Everybody else has 8 baskets for Connecticut. McNutt with 11 points leading the way for Georgetown in a first half that has seen Sugar Rogers held in check. The freshman is just 2 for 10. Butler trying the back door to Rogers, picked off. Hayes had to change the shot in midair and got fouled. And I think it was a good thing for her because her Husky teammates were telling her to set it up out top.
Jaleesa Butler, first personal,
first on Butler.
Hayes.
UConn 7 of 7 at the free throw line today. I want to remind you that the game of the week will switch over to the Big East tournament on March the 6th. Second round action for you starting at noon Eastern. Check your local listings for where you can find Big East Championship second round play. Huskies stay perfect at the line. Kick out to McGee for three. Tiffany Hayes boards. Sophomore drops it off for Maya Moore for two. Timeout Hoyas as they have fallen behind now by double digits here at the end of the first half. Terrific recognition by Tiffany Hayes to check the clock. And she finds Maya Moore 45-35 at the half at the XL Center.
Georgetown was picked to finish 8th in the Big East, which at the time was the highest ever for Coach Terry Williams-Flanoy. And now we're looking at a possibility to grab, even a share of the first part of the Big East. And that's just truly amazing what she has done. And this is a team that has not seen success since the early 90s.
93, their only other trip to the NCAA tournament. They got to the Sweet 16, and they will be going back to the NCAAs this year. And the foul will get the Hoyas to the line. That's the first on Tina Charles. UConn had just one foul in the first half. McGee, Rogers, McNutt, Fuller, and Butler in blue to start out the half for the Hoyas. Hayes, Doty, Moore, Charles, and Green for UConn and Gregg. And here comes the 1-2-2 that has wreaked havoc so far on the Huskies. Maya Moore, short on the three. That possession, they were unable to get Tina Charles a touch in the paint. Rogers, they've been very good at making her put the ball on the floor. Got to take that three away from her. Number 10 on the shot. And the foul's going to be called on Tiffany Hayes.
First personal, team second.
Well, minus the jump shots Georgetown has been able to hit from the free throw line area. The more that Connecticut makes this a half-court game, I think the advantage goes to the Huskies. Georgetown loves to run. They love to attack. And they are moving the ball well against the zone and against the defense. But their game is quick scoring, defense scoring again. A nice setup play there by Sugar Rogers to come off the screen, ready to shoot.
First couple of buckets of the half go into the Hoyas. And they are back within 6. Hayes going off the dribble. And her putback is good.
Basket scored by Tiffany Hayes.
I believe that was a warning against Hayes to leave the ball alone once it comes through the net. She tipped it out, and Georgetown player let the referee know about it. But it was good help side defense by Crawford. Her one mistake after the shot went up, didn't turn around and box out and allowed Hayes to get after that second chance point.
Over and back violation against Georgetown will get UConn the ball back. We're also watching two of the contenders for Coach of the Year honors in the Big East. I think these two and Mike Carey at West Virginia, Kim Barnes-Rico at St. John's, all would be terrific candidates for the jobs they've done this year. Charles scores inside, 21 now for Tina. 25 points away from the top spot in school history. And just 3 away from passing Diana Taurasi into the 3rd spot. McGee gets the roll.
I think McGee was a little surprised that shot went in. You've got to expect once you get close to the paint, you know, Tina Charles to be somewhere. She was all over that shot, just missed a piece of getting another block. But
Picked her voice up on the microphone there, said, oh, that's off, and then she smiled as she saw it fall through. On the inbounds, Maya Moore scores.
But you bring up a great argument, Beth, and who will be the Big East Coach of the Year this season? Because we've had, you know, certainly some milestones being made, and Gina makes a great case coming in this season undefeated and being a part of this tremendous streak that they've put together. But heck, Georgetown's having a great year too. St. John's and West Virginia have both exceeded expectations. I think we'll see some close voting.
Helena Green has it knocked out of bounds. Blocking foul called on Georgetown. I think it's going to be fun too to keep an eye on the Rookie of the Year honors. We're seeing Sugar Rogers here. Of course, Skylar Diggins having an outstanding campaign at Notre Dame. Shanika Smith coming on for St. John's. Adria Crawford with the 3rd personal. Hayes spinning underneath for 2. Lead now up to a dozen for Connecticut.
Look at how much more aggressive Connecticut's been on their man-to-man defense. They are all over, even when the ball is exchanged through screens.
Offensive rebound by Butler to keep it in play. McGee to the bucket for 2.
Wow, McGee has done great the last 2 possessions of finding her way around Tina Charles, just out of the reach of the block. I think Charles is expecting her to take one less step, and she's setting up to swat the shot. But McGee, a very athletic player herself.
Doty's pass kicked. We'll reset the shot clock to 15. Georgetown's going to hustle a substitute into the game. Tia McBride is on, the 6'1" senior. Doty into Charles. Tina off the ball fake for 2 more. She's 10 for 12, 23 points.
That helps out from it. That needs to come a lot sooner. But what Connecticut did well in that possession was they fired the ball down into Charles so quickly. She could sense there was really no one over her right-hand shoulder, so she just did a quick drop step and scored.
Rogers off the dribble, and Hayes got a piece of it.
Doty tried to cut down the middle hard. She got bumped hard. Harder.
5 on the shot clock. Hayes trying to get her feet set. Got it to beat the buzzer. Hayes and Doty, the 2 sophomores, 67-0 in their short careers. After the undefeated season last year, without a loss this year. And a timeout with 14:38 to go. Hayes got the feet set, and the left-hander on the way as the shot clock expired. UConn on top of Georgetown now by 15, under 15 to go, and we've got a little Big East trivia for you. At 13.7 steals per game, Georgetown currently leads the Big East and is second in the nation. But who holds the individual Big East record for total steals? Nikisha Sales, Angel McCautry, Nadira Ricks, or Tracy Liss? Nadira Ricks, a member of that 93 Sweet 16 team for Georgetown. The last time they went to the tournament, they will be headed back there this year. Now the question is, will they be taking a Big East championship with them? If they can pull off the upset here and then Notre Dame can beat UConn on Monday, Georgetown has a chance to grab a share of it. Big ifs, of course. But on a night when, a day when Tina Charles has been sensational, 23 points today. She is now tied with Diana Taurasi in the number 3 spot all time. So she was tied with Lobo coming in, has since passed Kara Walters, and now with her next points, she'll be beyond B.
Pretty impressive name she's been able to pass up just in one day. It's a nice day at work.
Rebecca Lobo is now 9 rebounds in front of her for number 1 all time, and a whistle off the ball.
The shot clock was stuck. It stayed on 5 for at least the 2 or 3 seconds that I was watching.
Good catch by the officials. Bob Trammell, Denise Brooks, and Joanne Aldrich, the officials today. So they will go over to the monitor now to see how much time was involved. Shot clock is at 4 seconds. The game clock, 14:31. The story so far for Georgetown has been their D, 6 steals. They forced 10 turnovers, but have yet to turn one over in the second half, as UConn has handled the pressure better. And for the Huskies, Charles with 23 and 13 rebounds. Kalena Green has 11 points. Monica McNutt leading the Hoyas with 11.
And we talked about this before the broadcast. How would Georgetown react? They've been a team that have exceeded expectations, and they're still a fairly young team. We all knew they were going to be good coming into this season, and they've really surprised, I think, a lot of people within the Big East. They've got 4 wins over ranked teams, the most recent Notre Dame, and they have come in today and just they've not played scared, and that's what I've been most impressed with. And that little player there, Ruby Lee Wright, comes off the bench, just a 5'3" guard out of Latta, South Carolina, has over 100 assists on the season. We'll take a look right now to see when. Go ahead, Beth.
I was going to say, it looks like the game clock as well as the shot clock. Because that game clock said 14:31, which is where we still are right now on the scoreboard here in the arena. Maya Moore doing some coaching over there. It's going to be a fun Big East tournament with the likes of Georgetown and West Virginia, Notre Dame and St. John's. And certainly the possibility. Those 5, I would think, are in, and then Providence, Rutgers, DePaul are all under consideration right now, certainly with their 7-7 records in league play. Vivian Stringer coming out this past week saying, we're not going to the NIT, by the way. It's the NCAA or bust.
I thought that was a pretty interesting comment, and really just the same year. But, DePaul, I've seen them play great, and I've seen them play not so great. And you have to think missing 3 starters in China 3, Deirdre Naughton and Rachel Pearson, all out with injuries this season, where things might have changed had those 3 players been in the lineup. And certainly Syracuse is a streaky type team as well. And Rutgers, they can't find the basket. The defense is still there, but they cannot put together a stretch of some good offensive games and possessions. And that's been their biggest downfall.
Syracuse is at DePaul today in what is shaping up to be a big ball game for them. And then they will host West Virginia at the end of the year. And the Orange desperately need a quality win on the resume, and that would certainly be an opportunity to get one. And so the officials have checked that monitor and are now trying to determine what to do about it.
Add a couple seconds, let's play. Let's get it going.
It would be awfully difficult to take those 4 seconds off the clock and then Georgetown loses possession. As the crowd gets the wave going here at the XL Center in Hartford.
Very nice. Always a fan of the wave. Isn't it awesome? I never get tired of it.
Senior day here in Hartford. The final home games for Tina Charles, Kalena Green, Kylie McLaren, Megan Gardler, and Jackie Fernandez, the former walk-on who made her first career start today. They also had their final game at Gamble Pavilion where the senior class never lost out in stores. And Tina Charles had her jersey added to the Huskies Ring of Honor.
And I thought there were some very nice comments made about Jackie Fernandez, and you know, Gino Auriemma said that he doesn't want 11 All-Americans on his team. He needs players like Jackie who can come in as a walk-on and challenge the higher players and the higher ranked players rather to be at their best. And Jackie Fernandez gets as much respect from anybody on this team as Amaya Moore and a Tina Charles. And Maya Moore talked about, you know, how she might not get some of the same accolades the rest of us get, but believe me, she goes through the same trials and tribulations that we all do.
Veteran crew of officials doing their best to get it right here. Bob Trammell in the middle of Terry Williams, Flournoy, and Gino Auriemma.
It will be interesting to see how Georgetown comes out of this huddle, because you know they're on the receiving end of kind of the grief of this. They want to get out and play and keep things moving. Just by looking at body language, I feel like Georgetown's kind of crossing their arms and saying, why aren't we playing? And they're getting frustrated. Connecticut looks relaxed to me. They're like, hey, we're in the driver's seat. When you guys are ready to go, so are we.
So they do end up taking the time off of the shot clock as well as the game clock, which means that Georgetown loses possession. It ended up being 5 seconds, down from 14:31 to 14:26, so the shot clock does expire on Georgetown. UConn gets the ball. And then the Huskies give it right back. That's their first turnover of this second half. So in the eyes of the Hoyas, justice is served.
We're watching Coach Williams Flournoy. She clapped her hands and she said, okay, on the way back, ladies.
On the drive, McGee fouled, and she'll head to the line. That's going to be the second on Tiffany Hayes. UConn with 3 fouls, Georgetown with 2 here in the second half. And Tia, the 6'2 sophomore from Tulsa, will shoot them.
McGee with a couple of big games this season. 17 against Notre Dame, and also had 7 boards in that game. And a very impactful day against St. John's with 12 points, 7 boards, and 5 assists. So there's a lot of talk, of course, about Sugar Rogers and her being a freshman and what she's been able to come in and do. But Latia McGee is another player who is so athletic and can play anywhere from the 2 to 4 positions at Georgetown. Is what helped get them some of the wins. And when you and I had that game at Louisville, or at Georgetown, Louisville came to town, and we asked Coach Flournoy, what are some of the more impactful players? And she, no question, talked about Latia McGee and her athleticism.
She's been bringing it in their big games for them this year. Roach. All right. McGee short on it. Butler with the rebound. Knocked out of bounds by the Hoyas. Jaleesa Butler now with 6 points to go along with 7 rebounds today.
Not as much pressure from the Hoyas in that three-quarter court press as we saw in the first half. Connecticut having an easy time breaking it. You gotta get a hand on Tiffany Hayes, are you kidding me?
Another 3 for Hayes. Georgetown responds with the triple.
Alexa Roach, 3.
6 threes today for Georgetown. More. 8 points today for Maya on 3 of 7 shooting. Shot clock winding down. Doty delivers to Green and a foul.
Tia McGee. First personal foul. Team second. Ready for the Hoyas at 14.
Gino Ariema reminding his players there is too much dribbling of the ball. He wants to see more passing and cutting.
On the inbound to Caroline Doty for 3. And she is shooting her way out of a slump. 3 for 4 from deep. 6 triples now for Connecticut as well.
And so far this afternoon, minus that last shot, the quick responses from Georgetown have worked in the scores. We see Tina Charles again having her way inside.
And a whistle at the end of the play from the officials and a technical foul. Is going to be called on the play, and it might go both ways. Charles again, demonstrative at the tail end of the play, and got tangled up with one of the Georgetown players.
Personal foul, charge to 30, Jaleesa Butler. Tina Charles will shoot 1 free throw.
So Butler gets the personal.
Assessed Georgetown's number 30, Jaleesa
And
Butler.
then
And Connecticut's number
dual
31,
technicals,
Tina Charles.
one on Charles and one on Butler. So the double T,
Number 31, Charles, 1 free throw.
and you give Butler a personal foul as well, so she now has 3.
Well, they gave the technical to Butler because there was just enough flailing of the arm after the play, and I think the referee was trying to explain that Butler went for Charles' head, just aggressive enough to get called for that technical, and certainly Tina was something to say afterwards. It is, it's not the part of the game where we've had a lot of exciting plays back and forth for the last few minutes. In a sense where we would, that play may have gotten let go, but there's too much quiet time in the arena right now, and that was a great call by the officials to settle things down.
With that basket, Tina Charles moving past Diana Taurasi into number 3 all time, so she's gone by Lobo, Walters, and Taurasi today. And she corrals another rebound. That's her 14th. She's now 5 shy of tying Lobo atop the all-time list. And another touch for Charles down low. And the lead has ballooned now to 20 for UConn. Tina Charles is 12 for 14 today. 27 points and 14 rebounds for the senior on senior day. 68-48 our score. And one of the more prominent Husky alums now joining us from last year's national championship team, Renee Montgomery. And Renee, now that you are a budding sportscaster, we need your assessment so far of how the Huskies have been playing.
They were a little shaky at first because a lot of things that they practiced yesterday, Georgetown did exactly what they practiced, and we weren't successful at it. So I'm sure he was upset, but you know, there's always that point in the game where they put the pedal to the metal.
Yes, they do.
We were just mentioning that this seems to be the time of game where our job becomes a little more difficult as Connecticut starts to extend their lead. What's been difficult for you since you've graduated from Connecticut and made the transition into the WNBA and now, as Beth mentioned, the budding sportscaster?
It's just difficult in a sense just to leave UConn, and it's such a sisterhood there and a family atmosphere. And in the WNBA, you know, people are adults, they're grown, so they have their own lives and their own agendas, and that was the biggest difference for me, just not being with my teammates all day, every day.
This, of course, is senior day, the last time for the seniors. We saw their emotions pregame. What's been the toughest part of not being around this team every day like you were a year ago en route to the championship?
Just the different personalities. I think everyone, you know, has their little something that they bring to the team. So just being around them and seeing how we mesh together and the experiences we go to.
We're going to stick around with Renee Montgomery here courtside, and we'll be back for more basketball right after this.
10934 now.
Welcome back to the XL Center in Hartford, where UConn is shooting 83% in the second half, and they have busted it open now to the 20-point lead. Beth Mullins, Brooke Weisbrod, and former Husky All-American Renee Montgomery. And Renee, a chance for you now to get involved with a little bit of Big East trivia. And I think you might know the answer to this one if we're all set and ready to go to that. Who would you pick for the all-time steals leader right over here in Big East history? Sales, McCautry, Ricks, or Liss? Now, I think we can eliminate Liss because she was a shooter. She could light it up for Providence back in the day.
That's a tough one because A and B, Nikisha Sells and Angel McCautry both, I'm gonna have to go with A, Nikisha Sells.
How about you, Brooke?
I would have to guess B, Angel McCautry.
And you would be correct.
Yeah,
Angel
baby.
McCautry.
I promise I didn't look. I didn't look.
This is a setup.
The all-time steals leader in Big East history. You've had to handle your share of pressure situations before, Renee. What have you liked that you've seen today about the way Georgetown defends?
I like the way, from start to finish, they've been attacking UConn. They didn't look scared at all. And a lot of teams, they're beat before they even come into the stadium. So, but Georgetown, they came out, they were hitting shots, they were still aggressive, even when UConn went on their runs.
Sugar Rogers has certainly given them another element on the offensive end, but defensively, I've been impressed with how long and quick they have become. You know, they changed their off-season workouts to better prepare themselves for these types of situations.
A lot of short sprints and quick repetitive lifts rather than the power lifting. And, you know, there's a lot of teams now that take different approaches to conditioning where it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I know DePaul doesn't really run, but they will play open gym for 3 or 4 hours at any given time, and there's no breaks between games. They do one after the other.
Sugar Rogers with a nice runner. 20-point game here with 10.5 minutes to go. One of your dear friends, Kalena Green, had a difficult choice to make. Maybe it wasn't a difficult choice last year, whether or not to go ahead and graduate with her class or to come back and play this year as a fifth year. Tell us a little bit about that decision that she had to make.
It was difficult for her. And me personally, I didn't want to think selfishly, so I didn't try to persuade her either way. Like, of course, we came in together, so I wanted her to leave with me, but I didn't tell her either way. I was like, do what's best for you. And, I mean, the way she's playing this year, it was a great decision.
Yep. Well worth it indeed for Kalena Green. 12 points, 4 rebounds a game. She's been a much better three-point shooter this year at 43%. I would imagine you spent some time rebounding for her in the gym when nobody was watching.
I have. It's crazy just because we came in together and we developed together. And then to see her get hurt, I felt like I got hurt too, because, you know, when someone you care about so much gets injured, you feel the pain. But just seeing her come back and have an opportunity to win another championship, I mean, who could pass that up?
Huskies certainly the front runners in that regard at 28-0, #1 in the country right now.
And Renee, we've seen teams challenge Connecticut more perhaps rather than games. And recently Oklahoma, I was very impressed with the way they played in the first half, and of course Connecticut ran away with it in the second. Is there a team outside of the Big East and outside of the teams that Connecticut has faced already that you feel like might match up well with the Huskies?
I do. I think Stanford is going to see, the thing about Stanford is they're never the same team the second time you play them as they are the first time you play them. So, I mean, I found that out personally when they knocked us out. But that's the thing about teams. Everyone gets better throughout the year. So if you beat a team by 20 in the beginning of the season, you can't expect to do the same in tournament time. So I think there's a lot of teams. Oklahoma, I mean, they show that they're already ready to play, and Stanford especially.
Under 9 minutes to go now in the game. UConn trying to pull away in a valiant effort today from Georgetown. They actually led for the first 10 minutes of this one before UConn got it going, and it's been a huge day for Tina Charles with the 29 points and 15 rebounds. And Georgetown gets the lay-in. Renee, have you or a lot of the other Husky alums kind of put your head around the idea that Tina Charles is going to be #1 all-time in both scoring and rebounding, and what that says about her career?
It says a lot because, you know, I've seen her grow, and I've seen the practices where, you know, coach will kick her off or tell her to take her to the side basket. So just to see her overcome all that and to be successful, I mean, I love it, because when you see players that have went through a lot and still persevere and be successful, I mean, I'm proud of her. But I didn't know she was going to be #1 all-time everything, man.
Unfortunately, I think she did pass you the other day in scoring, but your name is still up there high on the list, Renee.
Well, at least, you know, I wouldn't want anybody else to pass me. She's good people.
We'll reset the shot clock to 15 and a timeout on the court. Well, Renee, we thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here, and best of luck to you this summer with the Connecticut Sun.
All right, thank you.
We'll be back for more right after this. 59 to go in our Big East game of the week, which had Georgetown on top early, and the Huskies have responded in kind. But for the Hoyas, it's an awfully good resume for the NCAA tournament.
4 wins over ranked teams at the time: Syracuse, St. John's, Notre Dame, and Purdue. And really no bad losses. We talked about they need to be in the top 100 for RPI to be considered a bad loss. Now, they did lose to Marquette, but Marquette certainly in that top 100. And what's most impressive to me, that turnover margin. This is a team that likes to run, that likes to play a ton of defense and get steals. And for them to take care of the ball as well as they have this year is very impressive.
Tops in the NCAA in turnover margin, second in the country in steals this year. And a team that was picked to finish 8th in the preseason poll comes into this game today tied with West Virginia for 2nd place. And if they can't get the win here, they fall into a tie with Notre Dame, and the Hoyas would finish up with Seton Hall, a team that is just 1-13 in the league right now. So you'd have to like their chances a little bit better than the Irish. And St. John's is still in the mix at 10-4 with games against Villanova and Pittsburgh left.
I'll tell you one team that I know no one wants to get matched up with. Actually, 2 come to mind: Villanova and Cincinnati, because Villanova, of course, a team that will stretch the shot clock so far and then get their own rebound sometimes and make you play defense all over again for 30 seconds.
Timeout called by Georgetown.
Georgetown called timeout.
And want to remind you, Big East fans, to check out Geico Presents Inside the Big East. It's a weekly 30-minute program bringing you in-depth reports and features on all 16 Big East schools throughout the men's and women's basketball season. Host John Heffernan has the call on Geico Inside the Big East. Log on to bigeast.org for more details and check your local listings for where you can find Inside the Big East in your area. The Husky women are closing in on 68 straight. And that would put them 2 shy of their NCAA record of 70, which they could match in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament and then set a new mark in the semifinals if they continue to win. It's amazing what has gone on here in the last 15 years, when you go back to the '95 season in their first national championship, they've won a total of 6 titles. 3 seasons they've been undefeated. They're working on a 4th. And they have put together the top 2 winning streaks in NCAA women's history. And oh, by the way, they've won 93% of their games in the last 15 years.
And what's great to see, too, is the amount of support that they get everywhere they go. They've got fans that travel now. You've got people talking all over the place about Connecticut and how good they are and how good they can be. I mean, this is a historic moment in the sense of women's college basketball. And we saw Connecticut featured against Notre Dame on game day for the first time this season. And Connecticut, of course, led by Tina Charles in that first half, just blew Notre Dame out of the water. And they responded to every challenge. Well, how's UConn going to play when they get challenged in the first half or late in the game? Well, we've seen that. We've seen how Connecticut responded in the first half. They came back with a 10-point lead going into halftime. There has yet to be a team that can rattle them for 25 minutes plus.
They handled Oklahoma in the second half most recently, and now Georgetown today in the second half. They've only turned it over 3 times after they struggled mightily in the first half today. The tip back to Moore. Short on the second one, and Kelly Ferris has the putback. On a day when Moore only has 8 points on 3 of 10 shooting, the rest of the team is picking up the slack.
Maya's played a little tentative today, and I don't know if that's because she had a shot blocked early in the game, but on that last possession there, both shots she was short. She didn't extend and hold through on the follow-through. And Maya Moore that we've seen before will not only do that, but rush right to the basket to try and get the rebound.
Ferris inside the Tina Charles, and she's got 31. McNutt with the layup as Georgetown beats Connecticut up the court. On senior day here in Hartford in front of close to 16,000 fans. Gardler whistled and called for stepping out of bounds.
Alexa Roach.
Suppose we see oftentimes, isn't it? And Gino.
5.5 now to go. Huskies trying to get to 29-0, and then a date with Notre Dame in a sold-out Joyce Center on Monday night to close out the regular season. And what will be another raucous environment. Gardler looking for 3.
Tiffany Hayes running the point right now, and as a sophomore, averaging 10 points a game. And she scored in double figures 15 times this season. She's had a couple of 20-point games, but this has got to be the player who's going to lead this team as the point guard the next 2 years. And that's the Maya Moore that we're used to seeing.
Made the hustle play right there to tip it back up and in.
She gets up so quickly and gets so close to the rim. I mean, you've got to think she's one of the more explosive players. From start to finish, she just gets up and finishes so quickly. There's really no one that can match that athleticism.
She is getting close to 2,000 points for her career. And we will probably see in the Big East tournament teammates with 2,000 points each. And Charles and Moore.
Thank you. I was quiet for a reason. That's how hard Maya Moore hit the floor. That just happened. Wow.
That takes the breath out of all the Husky fans when they see that. Moore appears to be okay. Their defense much better in this second half, and they have just locked down Sugar Rogers. She's 6 for 20, 1 of 8 from three-point range for the second leading scorer in the conference. Tiffany Hayes looking to go baseline.
I got the first fouls out of bounds here.
Foul's going to go on Crawford. We'll take a timeout here with 3:42 to go. Back for more after this. Georgetown, and it's been a big day for Tina Charles.
No question who the player of the game is today. Tina Charles was everything in the first half and has continued to play so tough in the second. Has missed just 2 shots on the day. Tina was all kinds of fired up, and it is the reason Connecticut was able to withhold their lead and to come out in the second half even stronger. She's been awesome today.
13 for 15 from the floor, 5 of 6 at the free throw line. She's got a handful of block shots to go along with 31 points and 15 rebounds. She is now just 5 rebounds to #1 all-time and passing Rebecca Lobo. And she is just 15 points away from passing Carrie Bascom and Nikisha Sales into the top spot in UConn scoring history. Marks that may fall on Monday night against Notre Dame.
And throughout her career, Tina Charles has only averaged 25 minutes a game, and she's a 15.9 rebound production for 4 years. I mean, think about where that could be. She played all 40.
She is the New York Life Player of the Game. New York Life Insurance Company helps ensure that your family's future is safe and secure.
And Connecticut's defense and offense is definitely safe and secure as long as Tina Charles is in the paint.
We've seen a difference, too, when they at least get her a touch and it comes back outside. They are a much better scoring team.
Held ball, Huskies possession.
Tiffany Hayes, she's chipped in 11, had a couple of three-pointers. Caroline Doty with 3 3-pointers today. Green in double digits with 13. 3 players in double figures for Georgetown, McNutt, Rogers, and McGee. Gardler, more! Pretty feed to Charles.
I mean, even though they're up 20, they are still playing as mental basketball as they can. I mean, Gino Ariam is standing on the sidelines, arms crossed. He wants his team to play efficient, very disciplined on that last play. What a pretty pass by Maya Moore. You know, as good as she is a scorer, I feel like she's always on the lookout for the better pass. A great dish to Tina Charles.
Hayes grabs the rebound. Quick timeout for Connecticut just to get some substitutions into the game. And a hand for some of the seniors coming off. Kylie McLaren checks out. And those are some of the notable teammates over the years. The McGee twins, the Miller twins, and then just last year at Maryland, Marissa Coleman and Christy Tolliver. So Charles and Moore soon to join them. After Maya Moore's 38-point performance against Syracuse, Charles follows it up with 33 today.
Held ball,
This is just the third time in Husky history that there have been back-to-back 30-point games. Chris Gedney, Kathy Beauchesne did it back in 1980. Svetlana Brosimova and Shea Ralph in 98. And the hand for Tina Charles. One shy of her career high today with 33 points and 15 rebounds.
I would imagine, besides him telling her how proud of how he is of her as a player, just making sure it was okay maybe to take her out rather than go for that career high. They've earned that level of respect with each other, and it's great to see how well they communicate with each other now. And I'm sure it never got to a point where it was destructive, but Gino likes to challenge his players, and that's not a secret. He will get in the face of anybody. We saw him take Maya Moore out with a quick, ill-advised three-point shot early in the game. And where Tina Charles has come from where she started, it was a great thing to see, and give a lot of credit to Gino and his staff for making that happen.
Right. Whistled for the walk. Well, Georgetown in the first half, they put together the biggest lead any Big East opponent has had over UConn this year, and they held the lead for longer than any other Big East opponent has this year. But an outburst at the end of the first half that carried over into the start of the second busted things open for the Huskies. McLaren and one.
Second personal foul. 17th foul. 41.
For a post player who doesn't get a bunch of recognition because of how good Tina Charles is, Kylie McLaren is a very skilled post player, and a lot of times you'll see her come into the game and make some incredible passes. And certainly the length and the height is there. Another talented player, Heather Buck, makes an entrance to the game. Missed last season because she contracted mononucleosis. I think the post game of Connecticut is fairly safe and secure with players like Heather Buck in the middle. She's got a bright future ahead of her.
Gardler will go to the free throw line. The senior out of Springfield, PA, got her first career start when they went back home and won at Villanova earlier this year. Figures she's got about 50 people here today as Kalena Green, another one of the seniors, leads. UConn will now start to get ready for Notre Dame on Monday. Georgetown will close out the regular season hosting Seton Hall. In hopes of finishing out the year at 13-3 and a possible tie for second place. With the loss today, they'll fall a game back of West Virginia, who will close out with Marquette, and then a road trip to Syracuse. (84-62) the final. Tina Charles, 33 points and 15 boards to lead the way. One of 4 Huskies in double figures today. And don't forget to join us next Saturday for our game of the week and second round action from the Big East tournament right back here at the XL Center. The Huskies clinch their 18th regular season Big East title with the win today. (84-62) the final. Next Saturday, the Big East Championships presented by New York Life. Game action will come your way at noon Eastern. For more info, log on to bigeast.org. For Brooke Weisbrod, I'm Beth Mowens. The preceding has been an exclusive presentation of the Big East Conference.